Grab your brushes, Wargamers, because today we're painting alone together. It's a beautiful summer afternoon. There's a light rain falling outside. As you can hear, the wild roosters in the neighborhood are delighting in the weather. There's a cool breeze, and I've got about a half an hour to get something new done. We believe that visual appeal is everything here at The Joy of Wargaming, and we're not above admitting what our weaknesses are. So I have to warn you, today is going to be a bit of an experiment. I don't have a lot of experience using shades such as these. In the previous episode, I showed you how I tend to black undercoat everything and dry brush white. Well, I didn't like how dark these lizard men. This is a science fiction figure that comes out of alternative armies. So I hit them with an extra coat of white dull coat spray paint, because using these, I know I need as much white as possible for the shade to show up. Now, it's not exactly true that I have no experience with shades like these. My experience is largely limited to the standard. As you can see, I've used a lot of Reichland Flesh Shade. I haven't used this much. I've probably spilled about 2/3 of this bottle over the years. That's why we use a paper mat. I do get some use out of Agrax Earth Shade, but that's kind of a cheat. And one of the things I'm finding is that with the 15 millimeter figures, these can work really well, but I've never used the brighter colors of shade. I want my team, and they are a team. As we showed in an unboxing, I've got a whole crew of these guys ready to go, ready to take some paint. So that's going to be our mission today, is to try to get a nice bright yellow flesh on that. And I'm actually going to do my first experiment on this cheater figure. This is one of the fat boys. He's a figure in the, call it 28 millimeter scale, 30 heroic. I don't know. You tell me what scale it is. But rather than have a bad result on one of my 6 lizard boys, I'm going to go ahead and give the first whirl to the big boy here. And we're going to see how this wash goes into the crevices. And rather than bore you with, oh, I think that worked great, oh, that didn't work so well, we're going to pass the time by talking about something wargame related. A bit of a third rail of wargaming. And I'm going to go against the grain, surprisingly enough, and I'm going to tell you not to be inclusive when it comes to wargaming. Well, hold on now. Before you get all bent out of shape, let's wait until we hear exactly what your humble host means when it comes to being exclusive. A lot of people will tell you that you should be inclusive, that this is a hobby for everyone, and you should make room for everyone at your table. I emphatically disagree. This is not a hobby for everyone. This is a demanding hobby, and it is not for the lazy. It is an intellectual hobby, and it is not for the stupid. And we're back. As I was saying, it's not a hobby for the stupid, which is probably rich coming from me, given that I can't quite figure out how to make this camera do what I need it to do. Well, we're going to stop fighting it. We're going to do the best we can with what we got. It's pretty much the order of the day for everything we do in this life. And if it's not 100%, we'll get a little bit closer tomorrow. Kind of like we're doing with this painting. Here you can see the big boy that I experimented with to kind of find my feet. He's looking pretty good. And I've gone ahead and done a few more of these guys. The God's Own scale, my 15 millimeter lizard men, are looking okay. So we'll keep on going. We'll keep on talking about why you should be exclusive. You put a lot of time and effort into this hobby. You should expect the similar level of commitment from those who sit down at your table. You may find, and if they're not willing to put in the hours, but they're willing to put in the game, then that's fine. But remember that the guy that's doing the work, the guy that's doing the creation, is the guy that winds up calling the shots. It's perfectly acceptable to take your ball and go home if the people show up and expect you to use your figures in a way that you don't approve of. And you may be wondering, why are we even talking about this? Shouldn't you be talking more about painting? Yeah, maybe, except as I have already admitted, I'm not an expert with this style of painting. I'm not sure it's going to turn out. I might not be the right guy to listen to with this kind of painting. I'm mainly just trying to show you it's okay to experiment. It's okay to fail. You're going to try again tomorrow. The victory is in the attempt and in the improvement. It's not in the execution. And so when we talk about being exclusive, we should exclude the people who refuse to make the attempt, not those who attempt and fail. We should exclude those who are not even willing to make the attempt to put the effort in, but who simply want to have a seat at the table, the literal gaming table, without having done the work, without understanding the hobby, what it is, and what makes it so special in this world full of hobbies. When you invite someone to your table, you are not inviting them to make your table suitable for their interests. You are sharing a part of your life with them. And it's a deeply and profoundly insulting thing for someone to come to your table, see this level of effort and commitment, and then tell you, well, you should change what you're doing to suit my neophyte needs. Oh, there's too much math in this hobby. Can we do it without so much math? There's too much to remember. I don't want to have to remember all these. Can we just do special mechanics? No, we can't. It's okay to say no. This is your hobby. We've talked in a number of videos about that, about how it's a hobby. It's built by hobbyists. It's built by you. Granted, somebody else built these figures, but I am making these lizard man aliens my own. And they're going to be playing on my terrain, and I get to call the shots. Now, you may be thinking, well, what's the big deal? Why are you talking about this, John? And I'm here to tell you that you should be exclusive. Hang on. I'm not telling you should be exclusive. I'm reminding you that you should be exclusive. Don't take my word for it. Take the word of people who are too inclusive in other hobbies. There have been a host of hobbies, and you can probably name them, that were too inclusive. They were concerned primarily with numbers. It didn't matter what the hobby was or what the hobby became, so long as the numbers continued to grow. They agreed with Uncle Joe Stalin, quantity has a quality all its own, and the hobby will be improved if we can just pack as many warm bodies as possible in the hobby, even if that means making of the hobby something that it is not, which becomes a bit of a, if my aunt were a man, she'd be my uncle situation. Great, you've got all these people in the hobby, but are they really interested in the hobby? Or are they just interested in the audience that has been built, in the community that has been built? Are these people walking in day one and abrogating to themselves the ability to determine what is and is not the hobby? Those are the kind of people you absolutely want to exclude from your table. And it may be that reduces the number of people that you have available for your sessions. But just as, to continue the military analogy, quantity might have a quality all its own, but as the Chinese found out in the Korean War, quality has a quality all its own. And if you have enough quality, it can overcome almost any amount of quantity. So I'm telling you, with all the talk about you should just be as inclusive and never judge anyone and always make room at the table for anybody that wants to sit down, I'm here to remind you, don't make room for people whose chief goal is to make wargaming something that it is not. On a more practical level, don't accept a player at your table who refuses to paint his figures. This hobby includes two central aspects: the crafting and the actual game itself. And anyone that can't embrace both of those aspects isn't really interested in the hobby. Now, some people may not have enough time to do as much crafting. I estimate that I probably spend about 40 hours preparing for a game for every 1 hour that I actually game. That's a huge ratio. For me, it's about a 40-to-1 crafting to gaming. Other people might not have the 40 hours, and they're chiefly interested in the game. They may pay others to paint their miniatures for them. They may have some kind of disability, nerve damage to their fingers, or maybe they have visual impairments that prevent them from sitting hunched over and peering through microscopes even for long periods of time at teeny tiny figures. Obviously, they should be included at the gaming table as well. So we do make allowances. We're not jerks here. But telling someone who tells you that you're wargaming wrong, that they're not welcome at your table, doesn't make you a jerk. There are a lot of other tables out there. They can go find those tables. All right, we want a nice, strong, contrasting color with this gorgeous yellow. I'm very pleased with the way this yellow has turned out. With just a single coat, you'll have to tell me if you think that a second coat would help. If you've got a lot of experience with these and you understand whether multiple coats is the way to go, let me know. I have inquired of my assistant, my color coordinator, what would be the best complementary color for these guys, and she has informed me that red is the way to go. So, that's what we're going to do. Well, that's what we're going to try. As I said, I don't have a lot of experience with this. I bought this shade Crimson, and as you can see on the camera, it doesn't look very crimson. It looks a lot more purple. Looks a lot more purple to me, but hey, it is what it is. And when she, who must be obeyed, is obeyed, you know what? I'm starting to think that the British term for crimson is kind of like the British term for chips. This is not, this is, here, let me show you crimson. I think I actually have, this is more crimson to my way of thinking. There's way too much blue in this. I think it looks purple. Fortunately, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, and I think that purple looks pretty good with the yellow, so we're going to roll with it. And I'm just going to go ahead and give all of his accoutrements a purple wash and call it good. We'll go from there. Maybe you think I'm being a bit melodramatic. Oh, geez, you might say. Why are you so worried about people ruining the hobby? The answer is because we grognards have been around long enough to have seen it happen to multiple other hobbies. Tabletop wargaming is a ghost. Tabletop role-playing games are a ghost of their former selves. These days, it is more of a, what would you call it? most of the community LARPs as tabletop role players. They want to be like improv players that use the rules as a theme around which they build their improv plays. Or they have stories that they want to tell. And the more they force the story, the more they drift away from the possibility of a game. Remember that a game is, it involves an element of chance. It involves an element of challenge, competition, storytelling, gaming. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. I missed a little bit of the yellow right there. We'll have to fix that once we're done with the purple here. As wargamers, we embrace the uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen until that die drops. And once the die drops, then we can decide what it means. But not before. No. We don't decide what happens. The dice do. And then, depending on how the dice and the chips fall, we plug ahead with the hand that fate has dealt us. We don't force it because we already knew how it was, quote, supposed to go. It's not supposed to go anyway. Things happen, and you adjust. There we go. He's looking pretty good. With just a couple of colors. We're gonna bone white up the horns there and his claws and fingers. But first, let's fix that. Before we forget about it, let's go ahead and fix that patch of scales that we missed. Right down in here. There we go. Oh, so much better now. So much better. All right. Don't be afraid to go and clean up those mistakes, people. There's always time to go back and touch up those mistakes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say mistakes? I meant happy little accidents. No, that was not a happy little accident. That was a mistake. But that mistake is not the end of the world. Easily fixed. So let's go back to our crimson. Come on. Come on. And we'll cycle through the rest of these guys. Give them a nice little purple banana hammock here. I don't know if lizard people have banana hammocks. But that's pretty much what this loincloth looks like, so that's what we're going to call it. And it looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, was I supposed to have gone back and touched up with white, like this area right in here between, here, let me zoom in a little closer here and adjust the zoom. There we go. That's because we're going to get it. There's a little area here where looks like there's a belt coming across that I had a little sloppage of the yellow. Would I have been better off painting that white before going to the, quote, crimson color on top? If you know, let me know. Again, all these little frills here, I think we're going to make those a nice bone white. It'll be nice contrast. It'll be a nice contrast. So these are largely going to be yellow, purple, and white, I think. And maybe we'll use, because we've got light and light, we're going to go ahead and use a nice dark color on these belt pouches and, of course, on the weapons. Well, not the weapons that are clearly bones. Those are going to be bone white. Surprise! And getting back to being exclusive, defend your territory. If you've been doing this hobby for a long time, if you've put a lot of time and effort into it, don't squander that by letting some Johnny-come-latelys waltz in and tell you that you've been doing it wrong this whole time. You haven't been doing it wrong. I haven't been doing it wrong by letting this guy drift all over and not waiting for the focus. There we go. That's what we want to see. I might have been doing it wrong, but I'm getting better all the time. There we go. Just a little bit of purple will make all the difference. And remember, hey, one of the things I love about these guys, look, swords and pistols. Just the way science fiction was meant to be. Do we need a little more light on the subject? I don't like the way that looks. I got a reflected light to help us out a little bit more. I think the fact that we're filming this in the daytime also helps. So yeah, this belt right through here, through the middle, that's also going to be a nice dark color, nice contrast. Remember, contrast is your friend. Lights against darks, darks against lights. It helps provide separation and visual interest. We like contrast. We don't want things to be too monochrome. And that's largely the truth in so much of what we do in this world and so much of what we do in this life. We're going to have some ups in this life and we're going to have some downs. And the key is to recognize them and try not to get too high on the ups, and too low on the downs, because things will always turn around. We live in a world of cycles. We live in an up and down world. And while you might think it's upside down right now, keep your eyes open, because today's upside down is tomorrow's right side up. And yesterday's right side up is going to be coming back again sooner than you might realize. So we're going to go ahead and keep on plugging away at these guys. Call it a day for now. Thanks for painting alone with me today. And we'll look for you soon. I'll show you the final getup. And until then, God bless you.